Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning into this week's tarot study. Today we are studying the tarot card 1, the Magician. You can see the layout of my cards here on the table, as well as we will be discussing this new deck I just purchased. And I'll show you the box, or I'll show you the booklet because I'm not exactly sure what the box is, but the box and the booklet have the same picture on the top. This is a rendition of Aleister Crowley's tarot that I'm hoping is going to be a little bit easier to understand than the Thoth deck. It is hopefully going to help guide and bring together these two cards, and we're going to talk about them in this series actually together. When I speak of the Magus card from the Thoth deck, I'm going to also be discussing this one, also using this book and some other resources that I've been gathering as research moves forward for this series. Again, thank you for tuning in to Space Rock's Tarot card study number 1, the Magician. And normally I want to get these out on Sundays, but I don't think that's going to happen this week. I think we're going to be like late Sunday night, early Monday morning, so forgive me for that, but we're going with it this week. All right, so quick notes on the Magician. We have the following keywords: action, manifestation, power, skill and focus, inspired action, willpower, and artistry. And there's the highlight of the Magician card from the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And of course my notes. Eventually I'll get a little picture of the card and put it right here and continue that as we move forward. But it didn't happen this week, and that's all right. We're going with it. So a little bit of a disclaimer for this series. I decided to do this because I'm also learning the tarot, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to create these for future reference for myself, as well as posting them for people who may also want to learn the tarot and may resonate with me and my kind of vibe, and you know, kind of study with me, I guess. What I really encourage you to do is purchase the decks that resonate with you that you see here, as well as any of the other decks that you have, and maybe make yourself like a notebook like this. So I'm doing a spread on each page. We have the Fool from last week, and of course the Magician for this week, and then next week we'll have the High Priestess card, the second card, number 2. But this card, again, really resonates with the idea of action and manifestation. Okay, one of my favorite quotes on this whole page is "Reach onward into the infinite as you unleash beautiful energies." I like that quote from the Spring Song Tarot, and we'll get there when we get to that deck. This card kind of really gives off the energy that you can manifest whatever you want if you take action, use your skills and focus. Be inspired. The inspired action, I should get a highlighter and highlight it. Inspired action for me in this series. I'm trying to even maybe bring that back to the series as we go along. But the inspired action for me too in this series is something that I'm hoping to channel and use the Magician card to help me with. I don't have a highlighter, but it is what it is. So the colors here are red and white, mainly because of the dress, the clothes that this person is wearing, the red cape with the white underneath it. So you can potentially dress like that if you ever want to like emanate that aura of the Magician, the red and white there. The element of this card is air, and the planet is Mercury. Sometimes in this card it's actually depicted as Mercury. The stones here are opal and agate, and the animals would be the swallow, the ibis, or the ape. And the ape card's going to come up here later when we get to talking about the Thoth deck. But let's key in on the Magician as the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. Again, I like to say Rider-Waite-Smith because the female who was the artist for the cards, the Rider-Waite cards, her name was Smith, and she rarely gets recognition for that, so we're going to try to give her that recognition. Oh, here's the box with Aleister Crowley. I literally set it aside right next to me so I could get it out and show it to you all. And then I forgot where I put it. That's typical me. So that's what the box looks like, and we'll get to that. I can show that again when we get there. But we're going to start with the Rider-Waite-Smith interpretation, the more traditional interpretation. The card, again, is about action, and specifically the mastery of the outer physical worldly realms. Okay, action is what's needed to turn possibility into reality. And that's why here we have action and manifestation. Like, manifestation, in my opinion, isn't just as simple as saying, I'm going to manifest this. No, you have to say it, sure. You have to say it, you have to believe it, but you also have to take the proper steps towards making it come true. You have to take the proper steps towards realizing that timeline. And the magician literally says, quote unquote, you have the ability to manifest your dreams, even if you don't realize it yet. You have the capability, you're strong, you can do this. The card sometimes serves as a bridge between the spiritual world and humanity. Some actions you can take if you're really feeling this card is to create a vision board, or start a manifestation diary, or even just write your affirmations daily in your journal. I do that myself. Essentially here, set a goal and create a step-by-step plan of action plan, and just do it. The key here being just do it. You got to do it to manifest it, as well as believe in yourself. And there's a lot of symbolism on this card. You see here, the magician is holding a wand up toward the sky, and that is indicative of spiritual wisdom. And of course, the number 1 on the card is the beginning. Like, the Fool was kind of the beginning, but this is like the true beginning of the tarot. If you look too at the figure's face, they have a very determined look on their face. That's attention to manifest desires. And then the red robe, of course, as we mentioned, was action and power, where the actual human figure in this image is adorned in red and white, the red over the white here. Okay, this is symbolic of spirituality within a person. Okay, this figure is holding a wand up to the heavens. But not just are they holding a wand up to the heavens, they are also pointing to the ground. You can see their left hand is pointing down to the ground there. So you have spiritual guidance, almost like, think of it like a lightning rod. I'm pulling from the spiritual realm and into the ground for that possibility of manifestation. Okay, that's where the as above, so below quote kind of comes into play. That's traditionally heard with this card. You also have some red roses in this image, adorning the whole card. There's roses everywhere. That's, of course, symbolic of passion, where the white lilies are symbolic of truth, of purpose. So this card may come up when, if you're doing a reading for someone, say, when that person has the power and potential to manifest their truth, to manifest their desires with action. And then lastly, and probably most importantly, in my opinion, about this card, you see the table in front of this person, okay? And it has the disc, the cup, the sword, and the wand, which is, of course, the suits of the traditional tarot. So you see that all sitting on the table in front of this figure, in front of this person. Okay, and of course, as we know, the cup's suit represents emotion. The disc suit represents resources. The wand suit represents passion. And the sword suit, intellect. Okay, so this card is bringing together all of the suits in the tarot. Okay, so next we are going to talk about the Thoth version of the card. And again, as I mentioned, I got the new deck. Here it is again, this new Aleister Crowley interpretation of the tarot. So we're going to look at these two cards together when we look at them. Okay, they're very similar in a lot of ways, but in this case, you'll see that the traditional Thoth interpretation looks like this, and this new interpretation looks like this. I'm going to spread out here so we can see them. Okay, and of course, this is card number 1. In the traditional Thoth card, this is the Magus. And you see the symbol for Mercury, and you see the symbol for Beth. The symbol means house. Okay. The male correlative of the High Priestess is emanated in this card. And of course, we'll do the High Priestess as our third study. Okay. As Thoth in Egyptian tradition, you see in both cards, here in the back and here at the bottom, the presence of an ape. Okay, you can see that in both cards, right there and right there. And in the new interpretation, the newer version, you can see that the magus is actually itself symbolized as the god Thoth, the Egyptian god Thoth, with the ibis head. That's the significant part of Thoth. So what we see here is a grouping together of like the ibis, the Thoth mentality in this card specifically, with the ape. Okay, so with the familiar ibis head, that would be like a quick wit of a baboon combined with the stillness and kind of solitude of the ibis. And when you combine these two together, it said you can reach divine balance. Okay, so you can also see in both cards, but specifically in this one, I want to point out the discs, the swords, the wands, and the cups there, floating kind of around this figure. And this speaks to the juggler, right? So this card originally was very originally, like of the original decks, this card was drawn as someone juggling like balls, but juggling something. In this case, I feel that's kind of what's going on here. Like this figure is kind of juggling a whole bunch of stuff, and of those things, you have all the suits of the tarot. And that's where the following verses from the Liber Vivo Magi, verses 7 through 10, come into play. Okay, with the wand createth he, with the cup preserveth he, with the dagger destroyeth he, and with the coin redeemeth he. And you see all four of those suits depicted in this card, and just about every depiction of this card across the board has that symbolism somewhere. Okay, last, something to be said about this card specifically. You can look at this and potentially see in the language of physics, right, that electric charge, which is the first manifestation of the ring of 10, of the 10 indefinable ideas, thus he is continuous creation, right? It's like the electricity sparks and then flows through in the circle. You can even see, I didn't really mention it from the Rider-Waite-Smith card, but you see the infinity symbol above the head. Okay, that's infinity. Hopefully we know the symbol in mathematics. Funny enough, I'm actually a mathematics teacher as my profession, and in my calculus classes we talk about infinity a lot. But in this case, we have the infinity symbol above the head of the magician, and you'll see it here as well. It almost looks like a snake, but you see the infinity kind of upright, vertically oriented instead of horizontally oriented in both of these cards, though in this one it's kind of behind something there. Then another thing about this new rendition of the card, you can see that he's holding in his hand not just the wand in the right, like most of these cards have someone holding a wand, but he has a scroll with an ankh on it in his left hand. Okay, and sometimes this could indicate a few things, really. One thing is the more mundane side of life in terms of like real life business transactions. But I feel like you can take it a step further by realizing that in certain circumstances, obviously, it could mean that you hold all the cards to a particular dealing, even if it seems that you are not currently on top. So that could be something to be said for, someone you're reading for. You could, if you were using the specific deck, always consider that line. All right, continuing from here, we have the Tarot of the Divine. Again, I'm not always going to show the books, but or the boxes, but I will show the book in this case. I'm feeling a little bit inclined to do so. This is what the book for this deck looks like. It's very pretty, I think. But the card here is this one, and the depiction here is supposed to be like of a fairy godmother. Okay, we have this mother, and yeah, typically the magician is a more masculine figure, but that's not to say that they are. We have the fairy godmother holding a wand with her pumpkins and her mice, and most of you probably know the story of Cinderella. waving her wand to manifest the desires of Cinderella. Really. Keywords here for this upright card, add a few interesting words: originality, self-confidence, skill. Self-confidence is a big one, right? Fairy godmother was the bread and butter of self-confidence, like emanated self-confidence, as well as resourcefulness or a breakthrough. And that resourcefulness is going to tie into this card when we get to the Guardian of the Night Tarot. Okay, but again, we have the fairy godmother depicted here. As the helping hand, she has the ability to change raw materials into something wonderful, right? She takes the pumpkins and turns them into a carriage for Cinderella. She takes the mice and turns them into horses, right? The manifestation, the transformation, the ability to do magic. Her support must be used to move forward, to do the right thing. And I like that interpretation specifically of this rendition of the magician. That use the support of the magician to move forward, to take action, and to do the right thing. Next we have the Dungeons and Dragons version. And you can see that I've kind of cleverly grouped them together here. Maybe not so cleverly, but I like the way that I have set them up, and hopefully I will continue to read them in a way that is useful to you all. But here we have the magician. I'm gonna pick this one up. I'm not sure if you can see it. Here we have the magician, and this figure looks like an intellect, right? You can see he's making a symbol on his hands. I'm honestly not really sure what that symbol means, but it could mean something to somebody. If it does, leave it down in the comments. Tell me what that might mean to you. But what I see here is an intellectual. I see here a person holding a staff, a magic wand that's also a sword, and there's a gear in the back, a wheel in the back. And what's most important is that this person is reading this book. You see this book with this little triangular figure on it. And what the book for this deck says is to tap into your genius to find new ways of looking at the world. Okay, and then the Dungeons and Dragons prompt is: you meet a sage who gives you a key that opens a magical lock. What happens next? Right? For those of you who like Dungeons and Dragons. All right, next we have the Guardian of the Night Tarot. I really, really, really like this card. I really like raccoons. I think they're really cool, mainly for their resourcefulness, as we saw in the deck just a second ago, the Fairy Godmother deck. Okay, here we have a depiction of a raccoon, which is not necessarily a passive animal. Right? Maybe more during the day they're passive, but at night the raccoon moves swiftly and undetected. Okay, being a resourceful hunter, they use determination to get what they want, right? And you can channel that just in general with the magus, the magician, right? So the magician energy here requires passion and it requires work. And the raccoon is just that. They're nimble, they're focused, they're determined. They have passion and dexterity, but they're also clever, and they use that to their benefit. They use that skill that they have and turn it into getting what they want. Okay, you could think of this in human terms as manifesting your desires. Okay, next we have the new Mythic Tarot version of this card. Here we see Hermes, the son of Zeus, depicted. That is the god of travelers, patron of thieves and liars, ruler of magic and divination, and the bringer of sudden good luck and change in fortune. So when you see Hermes appear, you could say, ooh, life might be about to change in a certain way for you. Right? And then upon the stone at his feet, you see a sword, a wand, a cup, and a disc. Okay? In this case, the cup here represents the cup of fortune, particularly fortune in love, because Hermes is wise in the knowledge of the heart. Okay? Then you have the wand, and this would be a wand of magic entwined by two snakes, which represents, and you can see those there. These snakes are entwining this wand that actually looks like the tip of the wand is on fire. That's interesting. It represents all opposites, good versus evil, black versus white, male versus female. And the sword, of course, represents a sword, particularly a cutting edge of the mind and its power. Okay, you have a sharp mind to manifest your desires. And that, of course, was given to him in the story, was given to him by his father. The pentacle or coin marks Hermes as the god of sudden good luck and as the patron of merchants and businessmen. And for this deck, there is an inner level interpretation as well as a divinary level interpretation. On the inner level, which in this case, this card for the inner level resonates most with me, Hermes is the guide, okay, the wildly playful entity, okay? Think about the story in mythology, right? He often comes in the night, and he can come in the form of disturbing dreams or in the guise, so the magician may appear in the guise of a meeting with another person who turns out to be somewhat significant as a catalyst on the journey. So this card could be symbolic or indicative of someone having met someone else who catalyzes something significant in their life, something significant on their journey. On the divinary level, Hermes may point to potential skills and creative abilities that may not have manifested yet. So something even that could potentially change the course of someone's future. All right, and second to last, we have the Spirit Song card, and on this card we see a raven depicted, okay, and the raven has an infinity symbol above its head. We also see intertwining branches and vines and flowers and roses. Okay, the keywords for this card are, of course, willpower and creation. Willpower, manifestation, action. Other keywords for this card, of course, are action, creation, wisdom, manifestation, skill, willpower, and mission. Okay, if this card came up in a reading using this deck, you could see the raven as a mentor in making the best use of your skills. Okay, the raven will help you shed your fears so that you can unleash your full potential and personal power. Okay, the raven's spirit holds the forest of creativity that turns obstacles into productive expressions. Let this be a reminder. Let the raven be a reminder to reach onward into the infinite as you unleash beautiful energies. I mentioned that at the beginning of the video. I really love that line. I think that not just does that embody the feeling and energy you get from a raven, but also the magician card. And I think the artist in this case did an excellent job with this card. Okay, let this be a reminder to reach onward into the infinite as you unleash beautiful energies. You are the ruler of your reality. And now last, we have the Cthulhu Dark Art Tarot. And again, as I mentioned in the last video, I have misplaced the book for this deck. I think that's just like everything happens for a reason, right? Divine intervention, right? I think that I honestly, I think I'm scared of this deck a little bit as well. It's funny, I'm wearing the skull on this card. I just noticed it. I hadn't noticed it before. I'm wearing a t-shirt with a skull that looks like a bowl on it, and we're gonna see that come to play later. We'll see that when in 70 some weeks when we finally get to the Ace of Cups, but maybe I'll make that note now because I'm really manifesting. Like I literally wore this t-shirt with this cup on it today to manifest that this series I'm making reaches people, like reaches someone who needs it, someone who wants it, someone who wants to learn, and somebody who resonates with my vibe. But what I see in this card, and I had to preview this one a little bit, what I see in this card is a dark magician, a dark magus, not just someone manifesting, but potentially someone manifesting in a very dark way. You see that it looks like this looks like a masculine figure to me. You see it looks like he has murdered a bull or killed a bull and is draining its blood from its brain out of its nose, eyes, and mouth. Okay, that's pretty dark. And you see the wand, you see the sword, you see the cup, and I would call the circle, the bottom that he is doing his little ritual on, I'd call that the coin, okay? And I like the moon too in the, oh, and there's a constellation up here. I'm not sure what constellation that is. I might have to look that one up and put it in the description. But probably the North Star there. You see Stonehenge and you see a depiction of a pyramid. As well as the moon on his wand is pretty significant in my opinion. But again, this card to me is very dark. The deck in general is very dark, but this is one of the darker cards. This figure is scary. This figure is scary. I wouldn't want to run into him in a dark alley. But you also see his eyes. His eyes are bright yellow, lit up. It's almost like they're reading into your soul. They're just, gives me the heebie-jeebies. Gives me the heebie-jeebies. All right, let's take that card off the screen and throw up the traditional meaning again while I talk, or traditional card again while I talk for a second. So this is the end of this week's study video. We studied the Magician, card number 1. I want to say a few things. First off, I will put all my socials in the description of this video. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. I'm not a huge fan of TikTok personally, but I use it because it's good. As well as I am officially announcing my first Etsy bracelet. Last week's is going to be a bracelet that I will sell eventually. This week's bracelet is, I'm calling this the Purple Phoenix. Okay, and you can see there's Super 7 beads as well as moss agate beads and petrified wood beads. And you can look at the Etsy shop if you'd like. There's another version of it, but you can look at the Etsy shop if you'd like to read about those. But I created this one a while back and modified it a little bit with the moss agate. Well, it's always had moss agate and Super 7, but I modified. I originally had this as Mookite Jasper instead of petrified wood agate, but I think the petrified wood agate is what we're going with because I like the help with fear. I think that petrified wood helps with fear and inhibiting those survival instinct fears, like survival-based fears. So I'll put that in the description as well. You can check that out on my Etsy shop if you're interested. I have to do one of those shameless plugs for my Etsy shop. But that's all. That's the only plug I'm going to make. Other than my other socials, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, follow me there if you'd like to be updated. I post these videos there and reminders of everything, and specifically on Facebook because that's what I use because I'm a millennial. I post some inspirational things that I find online. So you're more than welcome to take a look at that if you'd like to. As well as tune in sometime next Sunday, maybe Monday again, maybe late Sunday for the next video. In the next video, we will be doing card number 2, the High Priestess. And we will go from there. Thank you all again for tuning into my YouTube channel. This has been Space Rocks Tarot. See you next week.